3 times. 4 times. Doing gang things, living super clean. That done came up. Can't control us. 1 time for the men doing cane thing. Dead fresh to the T, living super clean. 3 times for my folk that done came up. 4 times cause the man can't control us. 1 time for the men doing cane thing. Dead fresh to the T, living super clean. 3 times for my folk that done came up. 4 times cause the man can't control us. Look at you, you done came up now. Get it how you live, mess the game up now. Ain't messing with yoga, but get the flame up. Hey, used to be Toby, but got your name back now. I see ya, paid under pressure. 25 lighters, got them all on the dresser. If it ain't for you, ain't for you then. If you a lame or a sucker, wanna dress you then. Grown up now, bump the childish ways. Got a wife and a bunch of kids to raise. Punch a clock side, hustle or a business you endure to ensure that all the bills is paid. Slow clap for your homeboy, could've turned out like your homeboy. Been on the same block, cooking up the same rock on the cell block lot with your homeboy. But no, you had vision, you had gold. Brand new you on the old time road, take care. Home where you bust your low. Black men don't cheat, screaming bomb the hoe. Real men talk, real king ways. Still in captivity, but minds ain't slave. Got a little wisdom while you PD grade. Giving out the knowledge on the stoop these days. 1 time for the men doing cane thing. Dead fresh to the T, living super clean. 3 times for my folk that done came up. 4 times cause the man can't control up. 1 time for the men doing cane thing. Dead fresh to the T, living super clean. 3 times for my folk that done came up. 4 times cause the man can't control up. 1 time for the folk that have moved up. Even if you had a slow start screwed up. Used to gang bang, now homie brewed up. Had a little plan, I had them blew up. Look at you like a man right now. Dressed to the T, smelling like a grand right now. And you ain't got nothing from a handout now. Just faith and hard work gets it planned out now. You could've took a bunch of dusty rolls. The hand dealt with a bunch of cards to fold. To stay hot while the world is freezing cold. The same plot, but the story's never old. Slow clap for your kinfolk. Could've been asking what your info. Prosecutor could be trying to do you in for the 2020 twins, so you passing out the info. But no, you had purpose, you had plans. I ain't throwing nothing on Mercedes Benz. Won't impress y'all, don't need no fans. That ain't my God, who is that man? This real men talk, real king ways. Still in captivity, but minds ain't slave. Got a little wisdom while you peep these grades. Giving out the knowledge on the stoop these days. 1 time for the men doing cane thing. Dead fresh to the T, living super clean. 3 times for my folk that done came up. 4 times cause the man can't control up. 1 time for the men doing cane thing. Dead fresh to the T, living super clean. 3 times for my folk that came up. 4 times cause the man can't control up. Yeah, real man. Sheesh. Yeah. Doing cane things. Living super clean. That it came up.
1 time for my king doing king things. Mom these hoes cause you know he got a good thing. I submit and I cook and I clean and I never hold back on that wop, I'ma let it rain. Made me honest, I got a ring. All praises to the most high, let it sing. A real man able, sister never came. And I ain't going nowhere, this is not a game. Look at you, girl, you only
Shalom and shalom, sisters and cousins, and praise the Lord, saints. It's your favorite housewife, Miss Mono.
I don't really think you
Just in case y'all was wondering, yes, that is me on the verse. That is me on the verse.
To the T, living super clean. 3 times for my folk that came up. 4 times cause the man can't control up.
Shalom and shalom, you guys. Praise the Lord for another day. Thank y'all for being here with me this evening. I definitely appreciate you for that. Just in case you're like, who's this lady with the braids? I go by Miss Mono's World in these content creators. She's Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, all the places where the content creators be. Follow me. I am live on TikTok right now. I'm going to be going live on Instagram. Y'all, my daughter just convinced me to reopen my Snapchat. Okay, so I am on Snapchat. I haven't started using it, but shalom and shalom, sis. Thank you for joining me. I haven't started using it yet. I'm going to though. Like I put like 1 snap up there, but yeah, now that's another social network that I have to figure out how to use. And I've tried, trust me, I'm trying to fight it. Like I'm trying to fight it. I don't want to be dealing with all these socials, but at the same time, it's the way of the world. Like you kind of literally have no choice. It's like a get down or lay down situation. You know what I'm saying? So yes, I'll be figuring all that out. But anyway, yes, at Miss Mono's World on all of those things. If you're not on the YouTube, please head over to the YouTube at Monologue Magad, MONOLOGMAGAD, King 7, Shalom and Shalom. What's up? MONOLOGMAGAD. You can like, share, subscribe, turn on your notifications so you know when we go live. Let's see. Shout out to my audience on Messiah TV. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you don't have the Messiah TV app, please download it on your Roku, your Fire TV, Fire Sticks, and your smart TVs. I get that all mixed up. But yes, the Messiah TV app, it's not just my show. Lots of great content, lots of great edifying content, some good family stuff for you to watch with the kiddies or whatever. So yeah, go ahead and do that. The Messiah TV app, okay? All right. Don't forget about our Sabbath class every Friday at 8 o'clock, hosted by your man, my man, y'all man's Monologue Magad. 8 o'clock right here, brought to you by Fruit Forward Fellowship. Please make sure you are with us for that. All right, so our main topic is the disease of Black feminism. We're going to continue our conversation about that from last week. I have a few small, current event little thingies to discuss with you guys. So let's get into it. Okay. Our first little situation here involves two trans males competing for title in UK Women's Pool Championship after defeating all female competitors. TikTok, this is just for educational purposes. This is not my opinion, okay? It's just for educational enlightenment, stuff like that. All right, so these are the two persons who are not women, but are finalists in a women's pool tournament in the UK. These are them. And all I want to say is, if we're saying that men and women are the same, that's all I'm saying. I mean, if we're saying men and women are the same, then did you not see this coming? Like, did we not realize that this is going to happen? In Sunday's Ultimate Pool Women's Pro Series event 2 in the UK, a trans-identified male defeated a trans-identified male to clinch the women's pool tournament final in 1,800 pounds. British dollars, if y'all don't know. Harriet Haynes and Lucy Smith met for the final match, each having defeated 4 female opponents to get there. And so, see, here's the thing though, right? Because you might be like, oh, pool, it's just pool. That's not much of a physical stress. But women compete against women and men compete against men for a reason. Even when it comes down to spatial perception, men just have different fields of vision, and their receptors are just different from women. This is why they always are talking about like how men are just better at putting things together and like putting puzzles together and stuff like that. So yeah, this is putting the women at a disadvantage. But again, when you go around saying we're all the same, I can do what they can do and we can all do the same things, then these are the kind of results that you're gonna get. So what can I say? They cheated some woman out of $1,800. Like, they cheated a woman out of $1,800. They should have did what that fencer did. I don't know if y'all heard about that fencer. But she took a knee. She was supposed to fence against another trans male. She took a knee and refused to fight. So, we need to get on some of that. Like, I refuse to participate. And, that'll get some stuff done. Like, share, subscribe, turn on your notifications so you know when we go live here at the House of Mono. All right, this next story, y'all, first of all, oh, okay, here we go. Okay, this next story, made me cry. Well, almost made me cry. Let me show you the teacher. Okay, this is the Ohio teacher that is being charged in a murder for hire. I get so nervous saying words, especially with TikTok getting all, choosy now. But so she was charged in a murder for hire plot. Okay. The 44-year-old Ohio high school staff member was charged with felony conspiracy and alleged scheme to pay a juvenile $2,000 to kill her husband. Juvenile is a kid, okay? I know y'all know what juvenile means. Yes, a kid, okay? So let's continue. Let's continue. An Ohio high school staff member accused of attempting to hire a student to kill her husband has been charged with felony conspiracy, according to a criminal complaint. Stephanie Demetrius, 44, allegedly approached the student at Academy for Urban Scholars in Columbus, Ohio on March 26th and solicited the student to kill her husband for $2,000. $2,000? That's all you thought this man's future and his life was worth? Because I know you didn't think you was sending a kid in there and you wasn't going to get caught. Like, I know you did not think that you was going to send a child to do something like that and you weren't going to get caught. Demetrius allegedly gave the student a $250 down payment and details about her husband, including that he works from home and times when he would have been in the house alone. And see, now I know from watching, a lot of crime shows that you're supposed to at least pay half down. You're supposed to give them half up front. At least that's how they do it on TV. I've never tried to hire anyone for such activities. But yes, yeah. The affidavit stated that she also advised the student that they don't care about her neighbors when the student asked if they would be able to hear the gunfire, according to a phone call between Demetrius and the student that the police obtained. And so that right there should have let you know that he was not equipped for the job. That right there should let you know he wasn't equipped for the job. He don't know nothing about a silencer or something. A spokesperson for the Academy for Urban Scholars High School confirmed Sunday that Demetrius is no longer employed at the school, as she shouldn't be. As soon as we became aware of the situation, immediate action was taken to terminate her employment, the spokesperson said in a statement. We are cooperating fully with the appropriate authorities and remain focused on the mission and values that guide our work each day. The student's mother discovered messages between the two and went to the police with the student. Good for her. Good for that mom. She did the right thing. So they have not charged the child. Like, the student is not being charged in this situation, just the teacher that tried to hire him, as horrible as that is to say. Yes, I showed y'all the picture of the teacher for a reason. I sure did. Because what the hell? Like, is this what we're doing to our Black kids? Is this what we're doing? And yes, I'm gonna assume the child is Black. I'm gonna go ahead and assume that. So this is what we're doing. We're putting the guns in their hands now and sending them off on missions. She need to be ashamed of herself. Like, she really needs to be ashamed of herself. That's I don't understand. Like, just leave the man. Just leave him. Like, girl, just leave. Just get up and go, please. Like, there are so many other ways to handle such a situation. So many possible roadblocks before reaching such a drastic conclusion. All right, so prayers to that child, though, and his mom. So they are providing counseling for the child and his family. They are providing counseling for them for that. So just thank God his mom found out when she did. Thank God his mom caught it when she did, and she was able to go to the police and, like, basically save her child. I mean, crazy. Well, speaking of people who don't have any business having children, I'd like to introduce you to Rakisha Burns. Rakisha Burns, ladies and gentlemen. Miss Rakisha here was at her mother's house one day, and her mom was playing with her baby who was 2. The baby was 2 years old when this happened. Mom's playing with the baby. She goes to change the baby, take the baby to the bathroom or whatever, and she noticed that the baby is bleeding from its bottom. So, of course, like any good grandmother would, she calls the police and the ambulance, like, hey, something's wrong with my grandbaby. I don't understand what's going on. The police come. They take a look at the child and they discover that he has tears in his rectum and they have to remove a foreign object from a 2-year-old. When they asked the mother about it, she said, well, he wouldn't stop crying and I thought it would make him feel good since it makes me feel good. A 2-year-old? I have personally birthed 5 children. Never in my life, never in the life of anyone that I know, never has I don't even understand how that begins to become a thought in one person's mind. If my child is crying, I'm seeking to comfort them. There's no way that you thought that anything about this activity was going to be comfortable. And then it wasn't even her that took the baby to the hospital when he was upset and bleeding and traumatized. You know what, I'm not so much against forced sterilization. I'm gonna be honest with y'all. No, everybody don't need to be able to have kids. Everybody does not need to be able to have children. Like, nah, no. That is it's beyond sick. Like, there are really no words for the demons that must be living in her brain. I don't know. Prayers for that baby though. Prayers for the baby, and I hope she gets some help. Like, I hope they don't rough her up too bad in jail. Well, then again, maybe they should. I don't know. All right. For our next story, okay, our next story features your favorite rapper, Jay-Z. And I say your favorite rapper because I'm not gonna lie, he used to be one of my favorites, absolutely. But he is not anymore. Okay. So on this story, hold on, here's your and listen, ever since he put these ugly dreads in his hair, like, I've been done with him. I have been done with him. Let me restart. Okay, well, like, share, subscribe, like, share the live. Go ahead and tap that screen, you guys. Okay, so Rock Nation School of Music students promise full scholarships but are in debt. And let me just say this, okay? I was in New Jersey when the whole Barclays situation occurred, and people were talking about Jay-Z coming to Brooklyn, coming to the hood, making all these promises and not following through with these promises. These people putting words in Jay-Z's mouth, but then not delivering on what they promised to do for the people. So let's read about one such incident that left a lot of students in a really messed up spot. This is from Black Enterprise. Jay-Z backed the Rock Nation School of Music at Long Island University, Brooklyn, where select students were promised to graduate without debt but are finding out otherwise. At least a dozen students selected for the inaugural class of LIU's Rock Nation School of Music are speaking out to the Gothamists about unexpected debt they've accrued despite receiving offer letters saying that they would graduate without debt. These students with debts ranging from $5,000 to $39,000 are calling out what they described as mixed messaging with the university's Hope Scholarship intended for its highest need students. Why is it always why is it always those with the highest needs that are getting jacked? Like, why is it always the ones that have the highest needs that are having more taken from them? All right, but let's go on because it's really messed up what happened. At least it does. Wait, no. Okay, we were past that. Okay. You look at this paperwork where this very expensive institution is telling you you'll be able to get all these opportunities for less. You're going to get your college paid for, and they use this propaganda to get you in. It says, Ajaya Thomas, a Hope Scholar who transferred to a different university after 2 years due to receiving $19,000 in unexpected charges from Long Island University. So imagine they're telling you, like, yeah, Rock Nation is sponsoring this, and they've got all these connections and blah, 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 blah. So I totally understand. I can understand the hype. Yes, Rock Nation's going to pay for my education at a decent college. Like, yes, absolutely. I would go for it too. And if you know, like I know, how tricky the wording can be, not just in the marketing, but also when you go to meet with financial aid. Like if you've ever been in financial aid office, you know how that can go. Okay. And so I could see how people could get caught up in this. All right. You're usually not talking about people who had parents that went to college, or who have the resources to acquire those kind of services. Like I have my sister-in-law helps kids get ready for college. She goes over their essays, she helps them with the financial part. So these people probably didn't have access to those kind of services because it's not cheap. It's not cheap at all. Okay. So this is really horrible. Let's see. Okay. I remember being just generally conflicted about school, and then coming across this school made me feel a sense of security, says Justice Stevenson, a Hope Scholar preparing to graduate while also paying off $5,000 in student debt. It was a full scholarship immediately. It was a music school, which is iconic in the dream, and Jay-Z is involved. Stevenson says she successfully negotiated her $26,000 debt down after arguing to LIU officials that she had been promised a debt-free graduation. Among concerns was the lack of a professional recording studio, something students majoring in areas like sports management and music production said they had to build themselves. They also criticized the promotional materials that advertised celebrity guest speakers such as Rihanna, DJ Khaled, and Jonas Brothers, who never appeared. Not only do you have to build your learning environment, you don't get the guest lecturers that you came for. The university has defended its position with LIU marketing chief Jackie Nealon, stating that the scholarship covers tuition only and is intended to allow students to graduate tuition debt-free. So not debt-free, just tuition debt-free. So we're not talking about books. We're not talking about housing. You got lab fees. There's student activity fees for this, student activity fees for that. So just... there's a difference between saying, hey, you're going to get a full scholarship, and hey, I'm only covering your tuition. And they know that. However, it is a sticky situation that some financial aid experts say may have been used to boost enrollment amid low numbers. A big story of the day is the desperation of very selective institutions to enroll students. There are simply not enough students to go around. The name of the game was to get butts in seats, and they made promises. And so they said, F it, we don't want a small class. We're going to admit everybody. And that's what they did. So, and of course, the students are calling it a scam now. They're saying they were scammed, they were cheated. Can you blame them for feeling that way? Like, I can't blame them for feeling that way at all. I would definitely feel scammed and cheated if you promised me a full scholarship and I'm coming out with $26,000 in debt. That is crazy. That is just crazy. Like, share, subscribe, turn on your notifications so you know when we go live here at the House of Mono. Okay, let's see. Oh wow, I don't know why that happened. Okay. Sorry guys, I had an issue with the channel. Okay. All right. So our next story, I'm trying to decide. All right, so our next story is about your president making changes at the Smithsonian, okay? Let me pull up the article so I don't say anything wrong. So I don't like summarize anything incorrectly, basically. Okay. Trump executive order to force changes at Smithsonian Institution targeting funding for programs with improper ideology. I think you already know where this is going. You already know where this is going. And let me say this before we read this, okay? A few years ago, when all the Confederate statues were being knocked down, I was saying that's not smart. That's not cool. You're forcing these people to hide their history, one, giving them a chance to sanitize it. Okay. You're giving them opportunities to lie about it instead of leaving it right there in the forefront where the public can walk by and see. And then now you have to give an explanation for this person. I've always thought that was a bad idea. Like, why would you do that? But okay, let's go. President Donald Trump on Thursday revealed his intention to force changes at the Smithsonian Institute with an executive order that targets funding for programs that advance, quote, divisive narratives and, quote, improper ideology. So I'm pretty sure we're talking about critical race theory here. I mean, what else could, you know what I'm saying? What other improper ideology could it possibly be? Executive order also hints at the return of statues and monuments of Confederate figures, many which were taken down or replaced around the country after the police killing of George Floyd in Minneapolis in 2020 and the rise of the Black Lives Matter movement, which is detested by Trump and other conservatives. Trump singled out the National Museum of African American History and Culture, which opened in 2016 near the White House, the Women's History Museum, which is in development, and the American Art Museum for criticism. I know enough of history to know that when they go and start trying to hide it and start trying to make all these big changes, we are in for a large revision. Okay. In my lifetime, I see how so many things have been changed and so many stories have been changed, and especially with with the rise of the internet and the internet becoming more widely available to anyone. Anybody can put anything on the internet and it'll be taken as truth if people agree with it. I remember when I was a child, I remember hearing about the Tuskegee experiment. I read about it, okay? Multiple times. During the Tuskegee experiment, the residents of a small town were in fact injected with syphilis. But revisionist historians, such as my epidemiology professor at Montclair State University, would like to spread the story that there was just a town of Black people and they all had syphilis. And here comes the United States government to help these Black people with their syphilis. So you mean to tell me that it's just a town full of Black people and every Black person in this town just happens to have syphilis? This one town? But this is what I'm saying with revisionist history. It doesn't even make sense. The whole point of revising history is to sanitize the part of the person telling the story. Okay, and as that would be, it would be the United States government. So they're going to tell the story in a way that makes them look good and that makes the listener feel good about supporting said government. Prodigal son, shalom and shalom. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank y'all for the likes. Keep tapping that screen. Share on TikTok. Tell your friends, your neighbors, everybody else. Oh, this tea is, ooh. It's turmeric and ginger. It's really good. Okay, now we're gonna get into our main topic. Okay, I'm gonna go into our main topic. Sorry, y'all. All right. The disease of Black feminism. Okay, this is part 2. We started talking about it yesterday. I mean, not yesterday, last week. And then last week we went into the Moynihan report and a particular part of the Moynihan report, which was called the Tangle of Pathology. If in the Tangle of Pathology, we talked about the findings that the Negro family was at a disadvantage compared to other families because of the fact that we are so women-led as a people. We are a very matriarchal people, whereas the communities around us are more patriarchal. And according to Mr. Moynihan, there's no reason or no explanation for that. I feel that the explanation is because that's the way God intended it. God intended for the man to be first. And when you do things operating outside of God's order, you get the destructive results that we see in our community today, unfortunately. Angelina, shalom and shalom, sis. Thank you for joining me. And if you remember from last week, I talked about how in slavery, the abuse of Black women put them at it gave them a sense of false superiority to the Black man. Okay. Because if you are being idolized for your body, if you are being kept and hidden and supported because of your body, while your man is not able to make a living, it's going to be kind of hard to look to this man as a protector and a provider when he is not allowed to do so because you are not in your home. You're not in your home. You're not in the place that you intended to be. You're technically a prisoner of war. Okay? So, we talked about that and how that kind of led to the Black feminism that we see today. The big part of that I wanted to cover that really every time they talk about it just kind of makes my the hair in my ears stand up is the part of respectability politics. Okay, respectability politics. I'm going to read to y'all what it is formally and then talk about why it's an issue for us. Okay? All right. Respectability politics, or the politics of respectability, is a political strategy where members of a marginalized or disadvantaged community will consciously abandon or punish controversial aspects of their cultural political identity as a method of assimilating, achieving social mobility, and gaining the respect of the majority culture. So basically what this is saying is when it comes to respectability politics, and the Black community, how we're always complaining about Black women wearing bonnets and how it makes all of us look bad. We're always complaining about Black men and their hair being unkept and all these things that all these things that are looked down upon by people who are not part of that subgroup. Okay. What do I mean by subgroup? Ugh. All right. So you have Black people, right? Okay. We are Black American descendants of slaves. Okay. This is how I refer to us. All right. And so within this group of people, you have different classes of people, which is just like in any other society, right? In your if you look at the Caucasian community, they have their upper class or their bourgeoisie, they have their middle class, the working class, the poor. You have all these different cast of people. And even in the Black community, we have cast of people. Let's not deny that, okay? We have the few at the top who have been able to make it. The Black bourgeois. These are your NAACP members, your SCLC members. These are your political elites, the Kamala Harrises, your leaders of the Divine Nine, your mega church pastors. Okay, these are the Black bourgeoisie. These have been considered by our government to be the good Negroes that all of us other Negroes need to turn our attention to and follow. Okay. These good Negroes are upholding the virtues of the majority community. And when you say words like majority community, it can sound oppressive, right? Because you're like, well, why are you trying to make me do things that the majority community considers okay? But what we have to realize is the trick of the play on words about respectability. Because when you really get down to the fundamentals of the respectability politics that they have a problem with, it's all about disagreeing with the Bible, disagreeing with God's order, disagreeing with the biblical family structure and what they like to call heteronormative living, which is when a man marries a woman and they have children and they live as a family. Okay. This is the problem with Black feminism. Okay. In the in your first wave of Black feminism, we're coming out of slavery, going into Reconstruction, and as you can imagine, yes, we are all fractured. So yes, this does provide an opportunity for women to have to find other ways to make do in this time. So you have the creation of maid families as opposed to biological families, right? Because we didn't necessarily have that. Our mothers were sold, our fathers were sold, our siblings were sold. We immigrated. Some might didn't make it on the Underground Railroad. So many different things that kept us from being able to have what was considered a normal family structure during this time. Okay. So yes, you make do with what you have. And the thing that gets me is instead of us as women standing up and saying, no, let's put all of our support into supporting our men so that they can get established in this society that we lived in. We decided to abandon the men and come to the conclusion that what we wanted, what we think, and what we felt was more important than reestablishing God's order in our families. That brings me to a speech given by, hold on a second, I'm going to pull it up. A speech given by Booker T. Washington at the 1895, what was it called? Cotton States and International Exposition, okay? It's 1895. It's after the Civil War. I don't know if you guys remember, but Atlanta was burnt down to the ground during the Civil War, okay? So the exposition was to show everybody, look, Atlanta's rebuilding, we're trying to come back better than ever. Let's show everybody what we're doing. Let's see. Okay. In the best known of a series of agricultural and business trade fairs founded in the concepts of the New South, the Cotton States and International Exposition sought to publicize the Southern economy and attract further investment. Okay. So it's like, hey, we're Atlanta, we're here. At this exposition, Booker T. Washington made a speech. The speech was dubbed the Atlanta Compromise. Okay, it was called the Atlanta Compromise. Okay, I'm gonna explain it to y'all because I feel like to read it would be a bit tedious. So I'm gonna try my best to explain it so then we can keep going with our conversation. In his speech called the Atlanta Compromise, Booker T. Washington put forth the idea that instead of us fighting for equality in corporate structure and equality in political structure in America, we as newly freed people should be focused on establishing an economic foundation for ourselves. He proposed that we do this by taking up trades, building up businesses, becoming employable, building a community, and then moving to political action. He said in his speech, no people that you know ever started at the top. And this is me talking here. Even when you look at how the discovering and the colonization, that's not in quotes, the colonization of America. You're talking about people that came over on a ship, had to build log cabins, had to figure out their food. They didn't just come over here and say, hey, I'm going to be president over here. No, there was work that had to be done. Now, yes, they colonized. I'm not talking about that part. I mean, take that part away. There was still work that had to be done. Like, okay, even once they did steal all the land, you got to build it up. You got to, you know what I'm saying? You got to get agriculture in here. You got to get cows and chickens and whatever else in here. We got to start growing food so we can feed ourselves. We got to do things to survive. And so what Booker T. Washington was saying is, listen, we as a people, we just came out of slavery. We don't have a foundation as a people to survive. What skills or trade do you have that would make you of value to someone else? And another thing he pointed out in his speech was the fact that the South knows that without the labor of Black bodies, it would not be in the position to reconstruct itself the way it wanted to. He said this in his speech. So it's not like he was trying to admonish Black people to some kind of subservient role of invisibility, if you will. What he was saying was, we need to make ourselves usable. Besides being in the fields, besides sharecropping, besides just working the land, we need to present ourselves as friendly, as what do they call it, enterprising, as a group of people that other people would want to live around and socialize with. In his speech, he also encouraged white people like, hey, give your Negro neighbors a chance. Don't just believe, the lowest of what you've heard about us. Give us a chance. Okay? And so his speech, the reason why you don't hear too much about the Atlanta Compromise is because it was struck down, of course, by those who were pro-integration. So here comes W.E.B. Du Bois. They sent him in to shut down the idea of Black people building their own economic foundation before we go out here and try to get involved in someone else's system. Okay? If we take a look at how this has landed us in the position we're in now, the argument should never have been, oh, come let us sit at your restaurants. Come let us drink out of your water fountains. Let us come to your schools. Let us come to your parties. No. The argument should have been to uphold the decision in Plessy versus Ferguson. Plessy versus Ferguson was a case where a Black man went to sit. He was a light-skinned Black man. They did this on purpose to get this done. He was a lighter-skinned passing Black man. He sat in the white car. He later made sure to let the conductor know, I'm a Negro. So, of course, they sent him to the back. He made a fuss. The police came. This is how they got to court. In the court ruling, the Supreme Court justices ruled that there is nothing wrong with separation as long as all the facilities were equal. I don't understand why then the fight didn't become, okay, let's get equal facilities. Not some kind of fictional equality where we can all feel like life is fair or something. I never, what is the point? Okay, but see what you do when we failed to get behind our men and to fight for our men to have equal access to income, equal access to resources, is we allow these people to basically punch down on our men and lift us up to show the world like, hey, look, we're nice to the blacks. We're good to the blacks. Look at these black women. They're over here getting educated. Look at these black women. They're making it. Look, they're buying houses. They're, upholding the economy. Look at all these black women. Something must be wrong with the black men. And so you have this whole thought process birthed in black women now, which has become like the mantra of feminists that, I don't need a man. A black man can't do anything for me. I'm the most educated. I'm the most economically advantaged in this country. What can a black man possibly do for me? And it becomes an even bigger problem because I don't understand if you all realize like how your attitude is portrayed even when it comes to dealing with your children. I was listening to a black man speak on TikTok because there's been this whole big thing on TikTok of black men explaining why they don't want to go to college, why they don't do well in college, why colleges are not just, welcoming for them. And he was explaining that the life of a black male child is affected very early and in very different ways by the attitude of their mother. Right? Because in day-to-day life, in the life of a black single mom, there's not a lot of time for hold on, which of these objects is an animal? Are you for real? I can't even see that. Oh my gosh. Okay. I'm sorry, y'all. These new capture things are crazy. So he was explaining that in the life of your everyday single mom, you get up for work at dark 30. You're rushing the kids out the house. You don't go and wake them up gently. No, you're yelling, "Get up, let's go. Come on, we gotta go." So you're rushing them, you're getting them out the door. Every answer is, "Shut up, leave me alone, sit down, let's go, be quiet, da 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 da." There's never any time to deal with the child, to meet them on a personal level, because you're always in a rush. And so instead of this child learning empathy, sympathy, how to work through any emotions, any bad or good feelings he may be having, he learns to just keep them all inside. And like anyone else who doesn't ever get to express themselves, that's going to lead to a lot of anger. That's going to lead to a lot of anger. And then what's even crazier is when this anger does come up, his mother still isn't available to talk to him. Not only may she not physically be available, but she may also not emotionally be able to explain this to him. I have learned as a mom with sons, there are just some things about my sons that I just cannot relate to. I just don't understand. I just don't understand why they can't sit down and be quiet sometimes. I don't understand why they constantly need to run around. I don't understand why they burp and fart and everything else. But what I do understand from my husband teaching me is that I need to allow them that space to be young boys. What's going to happen, and we hear about this all the time, the adultification of black males. It's the same way that little black girls are growing up and being told that they're too grown, they're too fresh, they're too fast. And now let me say, some of y'all are out here sexualizing your children. You are, because why is your little girl dancing the boots on the ground? Why is your little girl dancing the boots on the ground? I do that dance at line dancing class. Me and a bunch of adult women. And there are dips and squats and everything else. We use it for cardio. Okay. There's nothing that no. Why? And why is your child popping a fan and popping her hips? Why are y'all doing get dressed with me videos with little kids in their underwear? When has that ever been appropriate for your child to be in front of anyone but their parent in their underwear? What is it about a phone screen that makes y'all abandon all common sense? So the same way that our daughters have to deal with being thought to be older and more mature than they are because of some kind of raggedy, misconceived stereotypes, our sons have to deal with being thought older than they are. But with your sons, it's not a sexual thing. With your sons, it's a fear thing. And now other people are taught to fear him. I'm going to tell y'all right now, I'm so happy that I am able to homeschool our sons. Jackson is 9, but he's almost as tall as some of his 20-something sisters. 20-something-year-old, he doesn't have 20 sisters. His 20-something-year-old sisters. All his sisters are in college or graduated. He's almost as tall as them. And I look at him sometimes and I have to remind myself that he's still a little kid. Myself. And I'm his mom. And I see him maturing and I see him growing. And I love that he's able to do it. But if I would not have had that guidance from my husband, I may just not catch it. I know what it is to grow up as a Black girl. Like, I know what my daughters are going through. I can understand that. I can look at them and remember when I was an 11-year-old and my thought process and a 9, you know what I'm saying? But for my sons, I don't have that personable experience. You understand what I'm saying? After all the feminist marching, Becky went back home to her husband. Some Black women went to Mary J. Blige and Moscato. Exactly. Or what's even more real is that Becky went home with Susan. Black women, those of us who call ourselves Christians and Bible believers, went back to church so they could tell us that we were married to Jesus. Married to Jesus, that's what they told you. To keep you from doing anything about what was going on with Black men. Iyanna Van Sant just talked about this on Club Shay Shay. Club Shay Shay will forever send me. I'm sorry. Like, this grown man calling his show Club Shay Shay is too much. She said she was a horrible mom, but a great dad. She was not able to be a gentle, loving mom because she had to keep order and her work and day-to-day just didn't allow her to be soft. That is real. That is very real. Having been a single mom myself, listen to me. The difference is night and day. From being a single mom to being a married mom, even when I was working, having someone there at the home to help, night and day. And now I will say this, my husband has always been an active member of our household. Like, he's never been the type to just not do anything. And so when I was working, he would be at home cooking and stuff. My husband's always been entrepreneurial. He's never been one to punch a clock. Like, for a few months, he worked for somebody else when we first got married. And I'm telling you, like, he was crawling out his skin. It was crazy. But before that time, he was working for himself. So he could work whenever he wanted to. So I would work during the day. He would take care of everything he would clean the house. He would cook dinner. I would come home and not have to do anything. And then he would go and work at night. This is back when he was doing tattoos. We didn't know about it. He was doing tattoos at night. So I'm not coming home to the pressure of, oh, I got to do homework. Oh, I got to cook dinner. Oh, I got to get the kids ready for tomorrow. There's not that pressure. So you get that time to relax. As a single mom, when you're doing everything by yourself, you don't get it. You don't get that time. Your brain doesn't get the opportunity to breathe. You can't even enjoy the car ride home because you got to pick the kids up from daycare on the way home. And then you might have to stop at a grocery store. And then when do you get a chance to sit down and listen to your child tell you about their day? Because you're not really listening while you're driving. You're not really listening when you're in the store. I can just pick up right where I left off on my stream. Am I back on? Put a 1 in the chat if you can see and hear me. Put a 1 in the chat if you can see me and hear me. And I'm moving for you. It wasn't y'all. It's the power went out. This is the same thing that happened last week to me. Oh my gosh, y'all. Put a 1 in the chat. Let me know if you can see and hear me. Oh no. Please, I hope I didn't lose everybody. Okay, here we go. I popped back up on my Facebook. So let me check my sound. Pick up right where I left. Okay, great. I hear myself. Okay, yay, thank you. All right, we're back. What the hell is going on here? The same thing that happened last week. Like the power just went out. It's not even hot outside. What the hell is going on? All right, anyway. Where was I? Okay, wait, let me read this comment. Why does your elementary little girl got a sports bra and biker shorts on as an outfit, just throwing in the present? Exactly. I don't understand that. And so, but see, here's the problem. We have become so convinced by feminism that what a man says has no root in reality, that we won't listen to the very people that we are trying to protect our daughters from. Let me say it like that. And I was careful with my words because I never want to insinuate that all men are predators, because that is very much not true. There are a lot of good, godly, upstanding, black, active fathers, happy husbands out there. Okay. So, no, all men are not predators. That's why I was very careful when I was trying to say that. However, You are trying to protect your little girl from males who are predators. So why wouldn't you listen to other males who know how males think? Like, I really don't understand this. Like, you'll go to a dog trainer for advice about a dog. You call a mechanic when you need help with your car. Why wouldn't you go to the person who understands how the predators think? And they're telling you, hey, you shouldn't do this. Hey, you shouldn't do that. And what do we say? Mind your business. And then here's what's funky. Y'all will call them the perverts for trying to protect your child. You will tell people, why are you sexualizing a little kid? Why are you putting your little kid on the internet in underwear? Nobody's sexualizing your child, but anytime a person is standing in front of you in their underwear, Calvin Klein ads are not sexy. Calvin Klein ads are not nice. Victoria's Secret's ads are not sexy. Even the little pink ad that's supposed to be for teenagers and young girls, they're still sexy. So why do you feel like your child in the same clothes that these people use to create these sexy images is supposed to do anything but what it's supposed to do? That's like you putting your baby on the freaking pool floaty and then not expecting it to work when you throw them in the pool. Because on everybody else it works. If I put this floaty on, I'm a float. If I put this floaty on my son, he gonna float. But for some reason, you feel like when we put the floaty on your daughter, she's not gonna float. You can't change the purpose of something just because you want to. And instead of us listening to the men who are telling us this, we'll tell these men to mind their business. Tell them that something is wrong with them. But then the moment something happens to one of our daughters, what's the first thing we want to do? Well, where's the black man to protect her? The black man was trying to protect you, but you told him to shut up and mind his business. As soon as something happens, we want to go blaming the men. Why we don't have no strong black men? What's wrong with our men? You keep telling them to shut up. You keep telling them you don't need them. You keep telling them to mind your business. And that is why the predator knows that they can come up in the black household and have their way with us. Why? Because there's no man in the house. You got to tie up the strong man first. But heck, you ain't got to worry about tightening them up because there's no strong man in the house. We've kicked them out the house. And tell Paxton to stop growing. I don't like it. I don't like it either. I do not like it either, girl. I don't. Boys are so different. Yes, different. Boys and girls are not the same at all. At all. And so what we've done is we let a group of women, right? Because they love to tell you that, oh, the first wave of feminism was just about getting the right to vote and just about getting political equality. But if at the time they were establishing the government, which is in the 1700s, and I had to look this up because I'm like, maybe I'm tripping. But if at the time they established the government, they already established the electoral college. And the electoral college are really the people who decide who's going to be the president, okay? They take the popular vote, they run it through the electoral college, and the electorate for that state can decide if he wants to take the popular people's input or if he wants to vote in another way. So now, mind you, again, at the setting up of this government, the electoral college was established. The electoral college could only be made up of white land-owning men. So please, somebody tell me, what was the point of fighting for the right to vote? What was the point? Did we feel like we were missing out on something because the men could vote and we couldn't? Why was the fight not to abolish the electoral college? Like, why wasn't that the fight? See, we're always focused on the optics of a situation. And I really feel like that is done to keep dissent and disturbances going. Because giving people the right to vote is only an appearance thing. It's only for appearances. When they gave black people the right to vote, it's only for appearances. Because then what did they do? They started adding poll taxes, and you had to prove that you could read, and they had to have an ID, which they weren't always given to black people. So what was the point? And see here, okay, so here's what I don't understand, right? Because even after the voting thing, white women were fighting for the right to work. White women wanted the right to go out here and to get a job like their male counterparts and be able to earn an income and all this other stuff. And I just want to say that black women have never had a problem being able to work. We've never had a problem being able to work. In fact, during World War II, it was demanded that black women return to the workforce because there were black people who were married and their husbands soldiers were sent off to war and they were left at home to care for their families like they should have been. But the white women didn't know how to manage their households and take care of their children. So they went and lobbied the politicians, and certain states made it a law that if you were a black woman, you had to have a job. Black women have never had to fight for the right to work. And even even during the first wave of feminism, they fought very hard to keep the issues of sex and race separate. So much so that when Susan B. Anthony went to address Congress on behalf of the, we women want the right to vote and everything else, and Ida B. Wells wanted to come with her, she told her, no, you cannot, because I do not want them thinking that this is a black issue. I don't understand why we are so eager to lock elbows with other groups of women. Because at the end of the day, them and their men were the ones oppressing us. And hear what I'm saying. I am not saying this about every single white person. I'm not, okay? I'm speaking on a system of people as a whole. Why would I abandon my family to go be a part of a group of people who barely want to accept me and who are only accepting me for their good? The only reason the white man tolerated you was for your sex, for your reproductive abilities, for your skill set. It was never out of respect. It was never out of, oh, I see you as an equal. It never gave that. And then again, instead of us rallying behind our men and trying to put our men on equal footing with the majority population of men, or the men who in fact were running the systems of government, so that then it's a fair fight, we let them convince us that we don't need our men. After World War II, they started what we know today as the welfare system. It was called Aid for Dependent Children, or Aid for Families with Children, something along those lines. And hold on, let me check this comments. Comments. And be mad at me for thinking. And see, I'm gonna tell y'all something. Me and my husband have some very real conversations. And he tells me about his temptations and his struggles. We talk about it. I know my husband is attractive. Like, duh, I marry him. Like, you know what I'm saying? I know he's attractive. I know other women look at him. I see the way other women look at him when I'm standing right there with him. So for me to act like I live in some kind of oblivious world where nobody's looking at my husband and oh, my husband just doesn't see any of these women. He's so in love with me that, he just doesn't see any woman ever. That would make me a complete fool. I would be so stupid. I try to, as much as I can stomach, deal in very real reality. And the very real reality is my husband is out here every day. And I pray he is fighting these hoes off left and right. He tells me he is, you know what I'm saying? But my point is we talk about it. I praise the Most High that he feels comfortable enough to come to me as his wife, as his friend, as his homie, as his partner, as everything, and to tell me some of the things that I may not necessarily want to hear. I don't want to hear that you think that other women are attractive. I don't want to hear that. But it's the reality. And I want him to feel free to come and vent with me so we can talk about it. Because when you don't let a man talk, now you're wondering, what is he doing? What is he thinking? Why is he not talking to me? Is he mad at me? What's going on with him? Is he cheating on me? Now you sneaking through his phone and putting air tags on the car and showing up places and stuff like that. Because y'all don't let men tell the truth. You want to hold them to some invisible, obnoxious standard that the people who are portraying the standard don't even live up to. When a man tells you, hey sis, you might want to cover your baby up, that's not a good look. Instead of you saying, you know what, thank you, you're absolutely right, my bad. You're going to cuss the man out and accuse him of trying to do harm. I'm tired of y'all. You know what? I'm glad I'm not a man because I couldn't deal with women. Like y'all just too much. Exactly. They're telling you. They're telling you. I was watching this documentary. If y'all get a chance, y'all need to check it out. It's called, what's it called? I don't know, but the subtitle is The Dark Side of Kid Influencers. The Dark Side of Kid Influencers. And so it's about this mother and daughter. And the daughter was like really big on YouTube with the kids and stuff like that. They had really like made it big, like millions of followers. They were bringing in hundreds of thousands of dollars like a month. Really did their thing. But the mother was purposely posting inappropriate pictures of her daughter and allowing grown men to communicate with her daughter and send her daughter gifts and money. Grown men. Matter of fact, she would make her daughter get on the phone with one of these men and talk to him. And then when the man sent all these gifts to the little girl, they would make a YouTube video of her unpacking the freaking gifts. In the video, they pause there, bookmark there. Okay, hold on. We're going to come back to that part. In the video, they talked about this app called Brand something. Brandmark. The app is called Brandmark. You can get on the app at 13 years old. Okay? You only have to be 13 to get on that app. But the people who subscribe to you can be 18 and older. So tell me, why would a 18, 19, 20, or any other aged man be interested in pictures of 12 and 13 and 14-year-old girls? You have mothers who are out there literally pimping their daughters on the internet. Like my good sis right here said, visually pimping them out. This is a real thing. You talk about the love of many growing cold. We're pimping our kids out online. It doesn't matter. See, let me go back to the gifts from the old men. Okay, because now see, and then what that does is that gives little girls a twisted sense of reality that has them thinking, oh well, I'm pretty, I should be getting those gifts too, or something's wrong with me because I'm not getting all this, my parents don't love me, I'm not pretty enough, da 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 da. For whatever reason, they start to feel inferior because they don't have all this cool stuff to unpack. Nobody's buying them Gucci bags and all this other stuff. And so now you're feeding these kids a lie and making them feel bad about living a normal life. This is what is going on. And so bringing this all back to respectability politics, because remember I told you, like at the core of the fight against the fight against respectability politics is war against the Bible and God's order for society. Because respectability comes against the idea that a woman has to be married in order to be respectable. I'm not saying that that's necessarily true. But it's been proven time and time again that marriage is respected in society. I don't remember what book I was reading, but it was talking about how businessmen prefer to deal with other men who are married because it shows stability. You have a family. I know where to find you. You're not out here trying to shuck and jive and hide. You're available to touch. I know I can hold you accountable. You also have something to lose, like I have something to lose. So I hope I can go in with at least a glimmer of hope that you're not trying to, run off with my money, as opposed to some kind of charlatan snake oil salesman who doesn't have any ties to the area and can just pick up and leave. That's always been a thing. Why do you think they make politicians get married? And here's what I want us to understand, okay? Because some of y'all might be like, well, what about the other stuff? What about the other stuff? About our appearance and things like that. We are not in our land of origin. This is not our land of origin. You have to remember that. And if you want to assimilate, to advance socially and economically, there's nothing wrong with that. In fact, I feel like it should be done. In the Bible, how it talks about I become all things to all people to win some for the cause of Christ. You know how a lot of people don't like to listen to Hebrew Israelites because they feel like they're always screaming, they always hollering, they always yelling, they always angry, they always this, they always that. How hard is it for them to win a soul? How hard is it for them to win a soul? But if I come into your house or into your place of business, and look, I get it. Okay, we can sit here and talk about, oh, we was kidnapped and we didn't want to come here. You can talk about that all day long, but it does not change the reality of the situation. And I'm just at that age right now, and I have just come to a point in my life where I can't deal in nothing but reality. I'm not saying not to have dreams and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, when we wake up and we make decisions, we have to deal in reality. The reality of the matter is we live up in these people's country. These are the rules that these people have established for their country. When you are out amongst these people, yes, you should carry yourself a certain way. No, that does not make you any less black for wanting to assimilate in a situation where it's dang near necessary. It was necessary for Black women to learn how to manage our hair so we could go up in these people's workplace looking a certain way. It's not fair. It's not. It's messed up. That for some of us still today, we cannot go to our job with our hair in its natural state. I used to work for a Black doctor. When I was going through my little natural transition phase, he was the hardest critic of how my hair looked. That's just not the world that we live in. I'm saying this speaking on the disease of Black feminism because we need to understand that we need to get our families in line if we want to advance. We have to get our families in line, okay? Paxton and Atticus, ladies and gentlemen. We read the report last week, and I have a few. Where is it? Here we go. The title of this article, if you want to go check it out, it's on heritage.org. Daniel Patrick Moynihan's unheeded warning about the collapse of the Black family. Let me just read a few parts of this real quick. Okay. The report, formerly titled The Negro Family, The Case for National Action, is best known for its warnings about the breakdown of the Black family, but Moynihan's motivation for writing it was his concern that the gains in the civil rights for Black Americans, punctuated by the passage of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, would not translate into social equality. Moynihan believed the racist virus in the American bloodstream would hinder the upward trajectory of Blacks for at least another generation, but it was his second reason that made his report so polarizing when it was published. Despite Black gains in education and income, Moynihan said racial disparities were widening because of the disintegration of the two-parent family among inner city Blacks. He pointed to several indicators to justify his views, including a non-marital birth rate that rose from 16.8% in 1940 to 23.6% in 1963. Okay, so even back then, you see the rise in single parent homes. You see the rise in single parent homes. And let me say this because, we like to say that one of the reasons that this happened was because of welfare. And I had touched on it earlier and went to talk about something else. I don't know. But there's something called the man outlaw. And during the time of the original welfare system, certain states had this law where if there was a man in the house who was contributing financially, if he was the biological father or the mother's husband and he was contributing financially, that family could not receive benefits. It wasn't in every state. It was in certain states. So yeah, that did happen. And in fact, as I was reading further, the report was saying, it basically was saying like, if the mom just had a boyfriend and he wasn't really doing nothing for the kids, then that was cool. He could stay as long as he wasn't contributing to the household. He could stay. But if you had a man in your house that was contributing to your household, then you couldn't get no help. And so again, the fight should have been, why is my man not equal enough to get a job that can sustain our family so we don't have to beg for y'all little raggedy benefits? And instead of that being the fight turned to, oh, well, let me get this man out my house. Say hey to Auntie Angelina, you guys. What y'all was doing? Are you chewing gum? Watch the keyboard, Ada.
I'm tired.
Did you say you tired?
No, he's not. He was up there smashing some empty.
They used to drop by new artists to make sure they were absolutely. Yep, I read about that too. Spontaneous house calls. They would just show up and you better not have a man there. So yes, this is a real thing. But I'm learning that our reactions were guided by Black people whose interests were tied up with making political gains. So whatever the politicians felt was going to be good for Black people, they would send their minions out to tell us, listen, Negroes, this is what we need to do. And then white people will love us and accept us. And because why didn't we follow Booker T. Washington when he said for us to get trade and build a financial foundation? How many more of us would have generational wealth? How many more of us would have family businesses if that was the focus? And I'm saying that because the whole might of the Black political machine, the whole might of the Black community was focused on integration instead of our might being focused on ourselves. It's like the child who's so desperate for friends that they'll give away their lunch. Yeah, you can go, baby. Thank you. That they'll give away their lunch to everybody and they won't eat it. They'll just give their lunch away just because I wanted them to be my friends. These are my friends. Go ahead, baby. I'll be up in a little bit. You know what I'm saying? That person is just so desperate for friends. They let people treat them any old kind of way. Just Steve Urkel. Think Steve Urkel. You remember how bad Eddie used to treat Steve when they was younger? That's how we was out here looking. Because instead of us putting our heads down, minding our own business, and tending to our Black business, we so worried about being invited to somebody else's party. And when they did let us come to the party, they let the women and the children in, but not the men. They let the women and the children in. Oh, but when your son gets to a certain age, bullseye is on his back too. We have allowed some arbitrary goal. And the arbitrary goal is equality. Because we will never be equal. This is not our place to be equal. Nobody is ever always equal. Equality is an illusion. I remember when the Alphabet Mafia was out here fighting to get starring and lead roles in film and television, and they were giving people awards for having gay people on their television shows. I don't know if y'all remember this, but they was handing out awards, and there were people that would sit there and count the number of gay people in a television show, and those shows would get like more merit points, if you will. But now look, it's everywhere. It's everywhere. Look at the story we just talked about today about that pool tournament in the UK that's for biological women. But 2 biological men were the finalists and a biological man won. We can never be equal because we are not the same. Men are now coming and taking over female spaces. We have let these witches and sorceresses, these witches and these sorceresses, we have let them convince us that what God said about us isn't true, and the position that God gave us in the family structure isn't good enough for us. So instead of us staying in our lane, we're going to come over in this lane. Well, what happens when you start coming over in my lane? Now we all mixed up. You can't tell who is who. And that's where this is going. I'm convinced that the reason these BBLs are getting so far out of hand is straight women trying to keep up with drag queens. People who aren't born, men who are not trying to be women, men who are trying to be women need BBLs. They need the dramatic breast implants. They need all the sculpting and the fillers and the softening of the face. But we have let these black feminists get us so mixed up with the black gay community that you can't tell one from another. And now when you look at a grown man in a dress with a beard and tell him that you don't want him going in the bathroom with your daughter, you got to get a law passed to keep males going in the male bathroom. And this is the thing. You give sin an inch and it wants to drive. There's a reason that there are very clear and defined roles, so things don't get mixed up and confused. In the beginning, the world was void and dark. There was no boundaries. The primordial ooze that they speak of is what was. Let me make light and day to separate the two. Let me make earth and the sky to separate the two, separate the waters from the land, separate the fish in the sea and the birds in the air, separate them. Things are supposed to remain separate for a reason. The Most High didn't send the Israelites into the wilderness with no rules and no regulations. He sent them in there with order and a way to do things. Your God is not a God of confusion. He's not the author of mess. Jesse Jackson and Al Sharpton. It's them. Forget the types. It's them. Especially that dang on Al Sharpton. Every time I see him, my stomach start hurting. Al Sharpton been a con man from the beginning. Listen, if y'all ever get a chance, y'all got to listen to this guy, Vince Everett Ellison, on YouTube. Again, he is a black conservative. I don't agree with everything he says because I feel like sometimes he gets a little too patronizing. You know, he be like, I'm not a black American, I'm just an American. Sir, please. Okay. So like it's certain parts where I draw a line. But as far as like going into black history and giving you the tea, and so let me clear this up, okay? Because when I'm talking about tea with history, that is when you are getting the everyday intricate details of someone's life, right? Like, oh, I wrote an ebook. No, for real, I did. I wrote an ebook, right? And so when somebody tells you about it, I'll be like, oh yeah, she wrote a book. Okay, but what did it look like from the inception to the completion of the book? You know, what were your struggles? You know, what happened when you got writer's block? Like, so these are the kind of intricate things that I like to know about in history. So if you ever get a chance to listen to Mr. Ellison, he really goes into some of these things in depth and tells you like some of the truth about these people and the truth behind the civil rights movement and the truth behind these black bourgeois who they like to sit in front of us and, you know, tell us that these are the people we should follow. But the fact of the matter is, just like this whole, just like the primary disagreement with respectability politics, because I'm not saying it doesn't go too far, right? Because some people might, okay, I have a great example. The subdivision we live in now has a HOA. Okay. The subdivision we live in now has a HOA, and there are a lot of older black people in our subdivision, middle class, college graduate, you know, corporate, white collar black people. One of the women told me that my son shouldn't be climbing a tree that is on our property in our front yard. In fact, my son shouldn't be climbing a tree at all because it just doesn't look good. Doesn't look good for who? Doesn't look good for who? Why am I going to deny my child a childhood? Because what? Because you worried about how some white people going to feel about seeing a black child climb a tree? Let them see a black child climb a tree. My child deserves peace. My child deserves joy. My child deserves a childhood. The very trees that were once a symbol of our death, the very trees that his forefathers hung from, yes, he's going to climb that tree and he's going to have a good time. So I'm not giving a blanket excuse to the pushback against respectability politics. But when it comes to the biblical portions that are disagreed upon, yeah, I got a problem with that. I have a problem with you telling Black women that they don't have to be married to help build the Black community. I have a problem with you telling Black women that they don't have to be married in order to achieve social mobility, because now you have a bunch of unprotected Black women in white spaces. And so when you see women like Jasmine Crockett stand up and, make these bold proclamations, where are the Black men to protect and support her? Even at the was it the State of the Union? What was it? When your man got up there and was addressing Congress and everything else, and the senator from, I forgot what state it was, he was an older Black man. He stood up to protest. Nobody stood up with him. They put that man out. Nobody stood up with him, and he was a Black man. I'm sure he was a Democrat. Yeah, he was a Democrat because they were the only ones protesting. Nobody stood up with that man. Nobody stood up to support him. Nothing. They keep the young, strong Black men out of their employment spaces, out of their marketplace, out of their political arenas for a reason. And those of us who subscribe to Black feminism are helping them do that, because instead of finding a Black man, supporting a Black man, loving a Black man, building a Black family, building a Black community, we're going to go over there and beg them to come and let us marry one of their raggedy sons. Or we go and lay up with someone else's daughter, because that is the one thing feminism does let you do. Black feminism is very steeped in a lot of LGBT ideology, a lot of queer ideology. And they've coined this term intersectionality to build a barrier around themselves. It's not a barrier. It's really a victimhood, to build a victimhood around themselves. Because yes, you're Black. Okay. Yes, you're Black. I'm not. Yes, we all got that same struggle. But you decide to go out here and wave a rainbow flag. So now, I'm a victim of this too. And somehow in their mind, that rainbow flag becomes more important than the color of their skin. And so now, instead of fighting for Black issues, it has to be a Black queer issue. You're not out here fighting for Black, straight, Black, heteronormative, Black men, Black husbands, Black fathers. You're not fighting for that. You fighting for the ability to lay up with Susan and Shirley. Purposely, meaningfully, thoughtfully rebelling against the word of God. And this is why I say Black feminism is a disease. It is a disease. It will keep us burdened in sin. It will keep us behind as a people. You just heard me read the report. Just Google it. Google it. You can read the whole report. I'm telling you, it's freaking crazy the way this man is talking about the very situations that we find ourselves in now. And this is back in the 60s. He said this. The civil rights era ain't going to help black folks because they don't have their families together. And he basically blamed the black woman for that. And I get it. I'm not mad. I get it. We messed up. We dropped the ball. Instead of us saying, no, thank you, we're going to focus on our families and build up our men and build up our communities. And it can be done. It can be done. But some of y'all can't live without running water. Can't live without everything. I don't know. And I'm going to tell you why it makes me so mad. It's because it's so hard to not be a black feminist on social media. It is hard. I made a comment under a video. This man made a video talking about, my wife can go through my phone at any time because I'm not a POS, right? So I'm commenting like, yes, hello. Like, I'm in my husband's phone all the time and I don't never find nothing. Praise the Lord. Like, and the comments are, oh, you happy about a man doing what he's supposed to do? Yes. Yes, I am. Why shouldn't I be? Because if he wasn't, and I was sitting up here crying to y'all, complaining to y'all about how, he cheating on me, he don't take care of me, the kids, he running around on us, you'd have a whole hate train for this man going. But because I'm congratulating my husband, appreciating my husband, now all of a sudden somebody's not going to be. Don't you want to be appreciated for your efforts in a relationship? They give you all them little awards and certificates at work, don't they? On top of your paycheck, don't they? They bring you pizza parties and cakes for your birthday, don't they? To show you they appreciate you, don't they? That's the stuff you get for just showing up and doing your job. So why is it wrong for a wife to praise her husband for showing up and doing his job? Like, y'all be pissing me off. These black feminists be pissing me off. Because it don't make no sense. Your anger is spilling all over the internet. I hate how it's messed us up. I hate the position that we're in right now. When I found Booker T. Washington's speech and I read it and I read about the opposition to it, I was like, oh my gosh. It's the Hellenized Jews all over again. It's the Hellenized Jews running back to the Greeks. Running back to the Greeks. Making deals with them. Promising to help them accomplish their goal in Judea at the cost of the Judeans, as long as they got to be the upper echelon in society. That's what all this NAACP, Urban League, SEL, that's what all these are. The Divine Nine, that's what they all are. The Hellenized Jews agreeing to do the bidding of the oppressor for a higher position in their society. And we, as the people of God, who are saying we don't want no more of it, we have to be louder and more resolute in our standing. We have to resist. Because the propaganda is everywhere. It's coming after our kids. It's coming after us. We have to resist. We have to stay grounded in the word of God. Listen, I know it's hard, and I know the images that the media likes to depict are often discouraging when it comes to black men. They're often disparaging. You're either going to see them pose as a rapper, a drug dealer, or some kind of gun runner. Like, it's very hard to get a positive image of a strong, masculine black man. What I'm starting to notice now in media is you'll have the feminine black man who also likes women. So we both feminine around here. We both full of estrogen around here. Like, why can't a heteronormative Black woman be with a heteronormative masculine Black man? Why does it have to be all the confusion? I want to encourage you though. Stick with what you know is right. Continue on in your good work. For if you, what is it? If you if you do not faint, you shall reap, or you shall reap not if you faint. Y'all know what I'm saying. Keep doing good and you'll receive your reward. I can't think of the wording of the verse off the top of my head right now. But that's in all things, okay? That's in all things. So keep focusing on you. Keep focusing on a biblical life. Keep focusing on God's will for your life. Let the Most High lead and guide you in all things. In all things. I know it can be easy to fall into this. All men ain't ish. They all dogs. I don't need a man. It's yes, but no, don't, please. I'm telling you, the reward is greater, okay? Thank y'all so much for hanging out with me, even through my little, you know what I'm saying, technical difficulties. I definitely appreciate you guys so much. Make sure you join us tomorrow at 8 o'clock for Sabbath class with your boy Monologue Magad, MONOLOG brought to you by Fruit Forward Fellowship. Listen, you like something you heard, you like, hey, I'd like to be a part of the efforts that y'all got going on over there at the House of Mono. Please head over to the Cash App, $ the House of Mono. $1 or $2 will do. We appreciate those who have been led to give. We appreciate you guys from the bottom of our hearts. If you feel led to give, please head over to the Cash App, $ the House of Mono. Why Boaz don't want your ass? The ebook is on the way. I finished it. My final editing boss has approved it. Okay. I did not let him read. I told y'all a few weeks ago, I was not going to let him read it until I was absolutely sure that I could not find anything wrong with it. I don't like for my husband to criticize me. I don't like anybody to criticize me, but I especially don't like him to criticize me because I feel like you should feel like everything I do is wonderful. So I know that's not reality, but in my mind. So I wanted to make sure it was all good before he read it. He read it. He gave it the okay. I just have to now, I want to get the cover designed by a professional. We're going to do that. And then I'm on to publishing. So hopefully within the next week or two here, I will have a complete ebook to present a link to you. Okay. Thank you so much for hanging out with me this evening. I really appreciate you. I hope that something I said will be helpful to you, whether you're watching live or on the replay. Again, don't forget to join us tomorrow o'clock. Lord help me. Don't forget to join us tomorrow at 8 o'clock for Sabbath class. Okay. And in fact, we will be observing Passover tomorrow. I'm pretty sure there's still going to be a Sabbath class though. But we here at the House of Mono will be observing Passover tomorrow. So yeah. Okay, so there's probably still going to be a class. My husband didn't say he wasn't going to do one, so I'm pretty sure y'all will see him tomorrow. Like, share, subscribe, turn on your notifications on the YouTube. Tell a friend to tell a friend. If you're not already following us, please follow us. We're trying to get our followers up. Listen, if you're listening live or on the replay, leave a comment. Say hello. Tell me your favorite color. Anything. Please, so we can get the interaction going, so we can get the algorithm to spread the video, okay? All right. Thank y'all so much. I will see y'all on the socials, Snapchat, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, all that good stuff. I love you so much. Shalom. Shalom. And good night.
Doing gang things.
Mono.
Living super clean. That it came up.
One time for my king doing king things. Mom these hoes cause he know he got a good thing.
Tune in to Why Boaz Don't Want Your Ass with your host, Miss Mono.
Shalom and shalom, sisters and cousins, and praise the Lord, saints. It's your favorite housewife, Miss Mono.
Every Thursday from 8 to 10 p.m. live on YouTube at Miss Mono's World and Monologue Magad. Now also available on the Saya TV.